When it comes to fitness, there's a lot of information online, and honestly, a lot of it is bullshit. You got creators pushing secrets that don't do anything. They just get views, and the rest is advice for advanced lifters who are already doing everything right. But if you're a beginner, that stuff could actually hurt your progress. What you really need to focus on are the fundamentals. The 20% of things that drive 80% of the results. The problem is, nobody breaks these down because they're not sexy and they don't get clicks. That changes today. I'm breaking down the 5 golden rules that you need to follow to start making serious progress in the gym. Now, the first fundamental that you need to dial in is your training. It all starts with the routine that you're doing. As a beginner, you should be doing a 3-day per week program. No more and no less. 3 days per week is going to give you enough frequency per each muscle that it's going to stimulate muscle growth. You're going to be hitting each muscle group at least 2 to 3 times a week. It's also going to give you adequate recovery. When I first started, I was going balls to the wall in fitness and did like a 5 to 6 day per week program. And I never got any recovery. And this led to me feeling like shit and always being injured. So 3 day per week is a sweet spot, and I definitely recommend that's the routine that you follow for at least the first 3 months. You also want to be incorporating progressive overload into your workouts. So when you do an exercise 1 week and you do a certain weight and rep range, the next week you either want to increase the weight by 5 pounds or increase the amount of reps you're doing by a few. If you just go to the gym every week and do the exact same weight and reps and sets for a particular exercise, once your body adapts to that stimulus that you're putting on your muscles, it will have no further reason to grow and you'll stop seeing muscle growth. So you want to make sure that you're doing this. That said though, you don't want to focus on increasing the weight so much that you lose your form. You want to make sure that before you increase the weight, you dial in the form, and as soon as the form breaks, then stop doing that set. If you keep going after the form is broke, then you're going to hurt yourself. And if you can't make the 5 pound increment without keeping proper form, then what I recommend doing is just increasing the sets, and then eventually you'll be able to handle the increase in weight. You also want to focus on compound lifts. They need to be the center of your program. So the things that you're doing first, they're the most taxing on your system. If you don't know what a compound lift is, it's any lift that involves multiple joints and muscle groups. So think your bench press or your deadlifts or your squats, anything like that. Very complex movements. You want them first in your workout, and you want to make sure that they're something that you're doing. You don't want to avoid these. They're going to be a huge stimulus for muscle growth. Just make sure you're doing proper form and not too gung-ho to put weight on the bar until your form is dialed in, or else you're going to hurt yourself. That said though, you also want to make sure that you're not sleeping on isolation exercises. Isolation exercises are great for bringing up muscles that are lagging behind or muscles that don't get hit too much with a compound lift. This is where your bicep curls or tricep pushdowns or lateral raises come into play, as that's going to help bring up those muscles that a lot of people aspire to have and that oftentimes lag behind.
Fantasizing while you criticize, pay attention to the signs, symbolize, feel like a legend, they go idolize. Ay, I'm a hero, wear my cape. Independent leader made a way. I'm the people's voice, hip hip parade. Stuck to my pace, the turtle in the race. There's trophies on trophies, views from the townscape. Change is great, praise, then I had to skate. God told me time to go elevate. Chosen child, I'm the champ now, not a featherweight. Man, I'm so blessed, I just meditate. Peace of mind, that's what you get when you out the way. By any means, I just listen what Malcolm say. Studied the game, I'm a student, learned every day. Stacking my bucks and I'm not talking Tampa Bay.
Step number 2 is you need to dial in your diet. To start, you need to figure out what your goals are in terms of your weight. There's 3 categories that we can put you in. Bulking, which is putting on muscle. Cutting, which is losing fat. And the third one is recomposition, which is keeping your weight the same, attempting to put on muscle and lose fat at the same time. One caveat to recomposition is it's very hard to do if you're not a beginner or if you're not on steroids. So you're much better off, in my opinion, to do a lean bulk and a mini cut in order to have the same effect, but actually be successful at doing it. There's one thing that you need to figure out no matter what your goal is, and that's your calorie maintenance. This is how many calories you need to eat to maintain your weight. There's equations to do this, but honestly, they're complicated and a pain in the ass to do. So I'm going to drop down in the comments a calculator in order to figure this out. Go do that and then come back to the video for the next step. So if you want to do a recomp, obviously just eat how many calories it says to in that calculator. But if you want to cut or bulk, I recommend eating in a 250 calorie surplus or deficit. Basically 250 calories more or less than what this maintenance calculator gave you. This is the sweet spot, as if you're bulking, it's going to help you put on muscle while minimizing fat gain. And if you're cutting, it's going to help you lose fat, but also maintain as much muscle mass as possible. You can have your calories dialed in and still have issues though if your protein's off. You want to make sure that this is dialed in too. When it comes to protein, you want to be eating about 1 gram per pound of body weight. So right now I'm sitting at 172 pounds, so I want to be eating 172 grams of protein per day. When I'm in a cut, this is going to help me minimize muscle loss, and if I'm in a bulk, it's going to help me maximize muscle gain. Now, you don't want to just be eating protein snacks or drinking protein shakes. You want to try and get as much protein from whole foods as possible, as this is going to help you hit your micronutrients. Now, if you don't know what a macronutrient or micronutrient is, a macronutrient is nutrients that your body needs in large amounts. These are your protein, carbohydrates, and fats. A micronutrient is nutrients that your body needs in micro amounts. Think vitamins and minerals. When you eat a diet consisting mostly of whole foods, you have a lot better of a chance of getting your micronutrients in than if you eat a shitty diet and then try and supplement with protein shakes and stuff in order to get your protein up without getting too many calories in for the day. I'd be a liar though if I said that I got all my protein in from whole foods. Although that's the goal that I have, it's next to impossible, honestly. So I do still have about 2 scoops of protein per day. This allows me to hit my calorie goal and my protein goal. And I also take a multivitamin to help me hit my micronutrients every day. Now, a big thing in the fitness industry that you see a lot of is supplements. And a lot of this is a waste of money, but there are some that are great. For instance, if you're trying to lose weight, caffeine is a appetite suppressant, so I love taking that and then fasting in the mornings. I also take it before my workouts as it helps me dial in and have a great workout. I take creatine. Creatine is the most studied supplement out there, and honestly, if you're lifting weights, it's a must. To put it briefly, your body uses it when it comes to weightlifting, and although it produces it and you can get some in your food, you're not getting an optimal amount. So this is why nearly everyone that hits the gym supplements with 5 grams of creatine per day. Aside from this, like I said earlier, I take a multivitamin. I also take a supplement from Transparent Labs that's like a sleep and recover. Sleep is very important, and if you're not getting enough, you're not going to have optimal muscle growth. So this is why I take this supplement every night. And then obviously, as I mentioned earlier, protein. This is about all I take for supplements. You can obviously take a lot more, but that gets expensive. And honestly, a lot of them are just a waste of money as the benefits aren't that high. But if I were only to take one, I'd probably only take protein, as that's going to help me get my daily protein intake up, which is going to be the most important thing when it comes to muscle growth. If I had to choose a second, then it'd be creatine, and then so on and so forth. Now, one thing you may be wondering is how you keep track of all your protein and your calorie intake, or how you even know how much protein or how many calories you're eating in a day. And for that, I use an app called MacroFactor. There's a few out there. There's MacroFactor, there's MyFitnessPal, Chronometer, there's a whole bunch. But I like MacroFactor. One, it has an AI food scan. I could take a photo with my phone of my meal and it'd give me a rough estimate of how many calories are in the meal. Now, I like to be a little more accurate, as that's still a pretty new feature and it's not 100% accurate. So What I like using is a food scale. It might take me 5 to 10 minutes extra a day before I eat. And as long as I keep up to date with that and keep macro factor up to date, I can see exactly how many calories I'm eating as well as how much protein I'm eating. This is honestly the only way to do it that is actually going to get you consistent results. Now, the third step is mobility and recovery. Now, this is something that's often overlooked by beginners, and I'm as guilty as any. I started at the gym and went very hard, like I said earlier, and didn't leave room for any recovery. And this led to me always being injured and always feeling kind of like shit, to be honest. So this is why it's absolutely fundamental that you make sure that you're getting this down pat. As a beginner, your body's not yet efficient at recovering, so you need to set aside more time for it. This is why before I recommended a 3-day per week program, as that's going to give your body 4 days off and at least a day in between each workout, which will give yourself ample time to recover. Now, one thing that you're probably intimidated by when lifting heavy weight is injuries. And although you don't need to worry too much about this, your risk of getting injured is a lot higher when you're doing sports than it is weightlifting. It is still a cause for concern. I've had a few injuries in the past, thankfully nothing too intense, knock on wood, but I have had a few minor tweaks where I've had to take some time off the gym. And honestly, a lot of this could have been avoided by proper recovery, but it also could have been avoided by doing mobility. You want to make sure before a workout, you're warming up, doing a general warm up. For a general warm up, I go on the treadmill or the Stairmaster and warm up my entire body. And then I'll also do a general warm up for the body parts that I'm working. So if I'm doing a shoulder day, I'll do arm swings and stuff like that, putting my muscles and joints through the full range of motion. So before I do compound lifts or before I do any lift at the start of a workout, I'll start by doing a few warm-up sets. So one with just the bar, and then another one with 50% of my working weight, and even 75% of my working weight if it's a complex lift. These warm-up sets help prevent injury as well. Now, one thing that pretty well no one's getting enough of these days is sleep. Sleep is when your muscles are repairing themselves and growing. And if you're not getting enough sleep, then you're not optimizing your muscle growth. You want to make sure that you're putting as much focus into sleep as you are diet and training. Aim to get 7 to 9 hours a night. I also recommend getting like an Oura Ring or a Apple Watch or something that can track your sleep so you can see how you're doing, because you're likely not getting as good of sleep as you expect. I know this is something that I struggle with a lot. Another thing that's helped me with sleep is putting on blue light blockers before bed. Mine have like a rose tinge that help block out the harsh rays of blue light. I also take a supplement, like I said earlier, from Transparent Labs that helps me get good sleep. Aside from this, try and stay off your device before bed. Naturally, you wouldn't be seeing light before you go to sleep, and this messes with your circadian rhythm. It makes it harder for you to fall asleep and get good quality sleep. Another thing that affects some people is stress outside of the gym. So if you got a stressful job or a stressful home life, this can accumulate with the stress that you're putting on your body in the gym and make it harder for you to recover. So you definitely want to be managing your stress as well as possible so that you can get back into the gym full force every time you go to do a workout. Tip number 4 is that you need to be consistent. What a lot of people do when they get the urge to go to the gym is they start out very strong and go for hours multiple times a week. However, this is unsustainable and quickly dies out. What you should be doing is making your gym routine sustainable so that you can consistently go. This is why I recommend doing a 3-day per week program, as it's going to be a lot more sustainable than like a 4 to 5 day per week program. Another thing that you need to be mindful of is you probably won't see the results that you're looking for. And honestly, sometimes when you're working out, it doesn't feel like you are making any progress. And this is why I recommend tracking your progress and taking progress photos. For instance, if you're trying to lose weight and you weigh yourself once a week, it may not look like it's making that big of a difference, as you may only be losing 1 to 2 pounds a month. However, if you're tracking your weight and can see it consistently going down week after week, you're going to feel a lot more motivated being able to see that progress. Same with progress photos. You're going to look the same on the day-to-day, but when you take progress photos and can look back over the months, that's going to be very motivating, being able to see how much progress you've actually made. You also need to make a commitment to the gym that you're going to show up 3 days per week no matter what happens, and you're going to do that for a set number of months. This will get you through the initial period where you're not going to see a whole lot of progress. And then once these first few months are over, then you're going to see a bunch of progress and be a lot more motivated to hit the gym. Another thing that I like doing is having a consistent workout routine. So for me, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Each one of these days, I do the exact same set of exercises on that particular day. I recommend that you do the same, as this makes it a lot easier to be consistent with the gym. If you know you're supposed to train on a Thursday, then going to train on a Thursday becomes a lot easier than just randomly showing up at the gym when you feel like it. Another thing that will help with consistency is having people hold you accountable. And this is why I created my free fitness accountability group on Discord. It's been very active this week. I would love to have you in there. If you're interested in that, the link will be down in the description of this video. Now, the fifth fundamental, you might not consider a fundamental, but I'm still including it in this, is mistakes that you want to avoid. The first is training too often. I'm not going to touch on this too much because I've mentioned it earlier in the video, but you want to make sure that you're not training too often and not recovering properly. Both of these things are going to do more harm than good. I was in the mindset when I started that the more I trained, the more results that I would get. But this is far from the truth. You want to make sure that you're getting adequate recovery. Another mistake that a lot of people make is they don't eat the right diet. They either eat too many or too few calories for their weight loss or weight gain goal, or they don't eat enough protein. You want to make sure that you're consistently hitting those targets every single day in order to actually see the results that you're looking for. Aside from this, another beginner mistake that a lot of people make is they don't hit progressive overload. They just do a random routine every time, or they do the exact same routine and don't adjust the weight or the reps, and therefore don't add any extra stimulus, so the body just adapts, and then they don't see any more results. Or you have people on the other end who have poor form because they realize they need to do progressive overload, but they continue adding weight to the body or that they can't handle, and then they sacrifice their form. If you're lifting weight and your form breaks down, that's the sign that you need to stop doing that set. If you can't do a set without your form breaking, then you need to lower the weight and either increase your reps or add another set to continue hitting progressive overload. One mistake that I've made in the beginning is I never did any mobility. I just went and lifted weights, and although I got away with this for a bit, it did catch up with me. So I definitely recommend doing mobility. You don't have to do much to be effective, but make sure you're at least doing it before workout and a little bit after. That way you're not only warming up your muscles properly, but you're making sure to do a tad bit of mobility every workout. And another mistake, probably the biggest mistake that I see, is people just aren't consistent with it. It's either their diet or their training routine. They just can't stick with it. This is going to lead to them not seeing any results. And if they see results, it's not going to be nearly what they could achieve if they were extremely consistent with their routines. If you want to learn more about the fundamentals, then I definitely recommend checking out this playlist here. I go into a deep dive on every topic that I talked about in this video and more. So I definitely recommend checking that out. And if you found value from this video, then make sure to click subscribe.